Welcome everyone, this is Virginia Parsons, your Hangout mentor and the host of the Inspirational Businesswoman Show, where it really is my passion and my intention to bring to you a goldmine of entrepreneurial tips, strategies, and advice to grow your business from inspirational businesswomen in the know. I want to thank you for joining us here today. We've got a great show coming to you, and I know your time is valuable, and I really appreciate that you're taking the time to either watch this show live or on replay mode. So it would mean a lot to me if you would go ahead and put your name and where you're hanging out from in the comment section. You know, it's really my desire to have this show become a collaboration of businesswomen who can uplift and inspire each other. So in the comment section as well, feel free to write down about your passion and your business so that we can all connect with one another. That would be terrific. So thank you all for being here today. Today's show is sponsored by hangout-marketing.com, where you can receive a free Hangout marketing assessment. Now this assessment only takes a couple of minutes, and it will measure your skill set and your knowledge base in using Hangouts on air to market your business and to reach new heights of visibility, social influence, and success. You can take advantage of that assessment just by texting the word success, SUCCESS, to 307-269-2040. Now go ahead and do that, and you may also qualify for a free strategy session with me. It'll only take a moment, so check it out, won't you? Now today I'm so excited to bring to you our guest, who is none other than Shirlene Reeves. Shirlene is absolutely an authority in her field. She is the CEO of Maximize Your Wealth Now. She also is the executive producer of Wealth Maximizer TV, so she's got so much to share with you in her area of expertise. She is a certified financial educator, and she's been in the financial business and the real estate investment business for over 19 years. So she just brings a wealth of experience to the show today. She's also an international speaker, a trainer, and a coach. And what's exciting to me is to learn more about how she bootstrapped her business to $2.3 million a year, and how she's now bootstrapping 2 more businesses. She has so much to share with you, great experience, strategies and tips that I know you're going to be able to take with you today and start applying in your own business. So I'd like to go ahead and welcome Shirlene to the show. Shirlene, come on and say hi to our audience.
Hi, Virginia. I am so grateful to be here and so excited. It's just an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you because I know there's a lot that not only I can learn from you, but everyone here today can learn. So all of you that have joined us today, please go ahead and put any questions you have for Shirlene in the comments section. Also, you're going to have the great opportunity to join us live if you'd like to after the broadcast. So we won't be recording that part, but you can come inside the Hangout and ask Shirlene any questions you might have in what we call the after show. So feel free to take advantage of that opportunity as well. So Shirlene, let's hear about this background that you have, because it's amazing. You know, I love having women on who have been through it all and come out on the other side shining and sharing with us not only, you know, the great success that they've had, but some of the challenges along the way. So I'm going to let you take it over for a moment and just share with people how you got to where you are today.
Well, first, if I may, Virginia, I want to say how wonderful you are doing with the Google Hangouts and how that it is the upcoming wave of the future. I'm so excited to see what you're doing and to watch you move forward. And I love watching new entrepreneurs who are really excited about their business. But I'm finding that one of the biggest issues that we have is that we only go to school and we learn how to be employees. And that's what I learned too, just like everybody else. I learned to be an employee. And I didn't do that very well. I hate sitting in a cubicle. and I don't really do well with a boss telling me what to do every day. So after about a year and a half of being an employee, I decided that that wasn't at all for me, because I'm really a visionary. And when I say visionary, what does that mean? Well, some people think very, very big and outside the box. And other people can figure out how to get where the visionary wants to go. And so I appreciate the people who can figure out how to get me where I want to go, because I'll have a dream and then I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? How expensive is it going to be? And what steps do I take? And sometimes, like the businesses that I'm building right now, I'll be honest, I went around for the first 2 weeks saying, this is too big, this is too big, how am I going to do it? But if you think of it like an umbrella, then you can break it down into pieces and actually move forward. So that's what I did when I came out of being the employee for a short period of time. So what I did, I think that you saw the tiger, right? You saw the.
I love the tiger. I told you it's also my totem, so I was totally fascinated with your picture of the tiger.
Well, the reason I love a tiger is because it actually really focuses in on its prey. And I think as business owners, we have to do the same thing. And if we haven't done that, we can't determine who the person is that we want to market to. So when I consider a business, I think of three things. The first thing is I need to have a product that everybody wants. If everybody doesn't want my product, I'm going to have a hard time talking to or finding the people that can utilize it. And fortunately, my product is money. So everybody out there needs money. There's nobody I can't talk to. The number two thing is that we need someone to market our product to. How big is that group of people that we're going to market to? Is it small? Are we doing something so small that people actually don't really need it, but maybe they'll do it because it might be fun? So many entrepreneurs out there, I'm in a lot of women's groups that I network in, and I see them, and they have such a small product for such a small group of people that, truthfully, I don't tell them this, but I don't know how they're going to succeed. So that's number one and two. Number three is I don't think anybody will work for free. I haven't found anybody who will do that. Oh, and let me go back. My number two is anybody who wants to be financially secure. So number two, one and two are covered for me. And number three is money. How much money are you going to make from what you're doing? What are your projections that you need to make every month? And how are you going to get there? How many people do you need to talk to in order to meet those projections? So doing that, and being the tiger that I am, I decided to go ahead and start my own company. And I was a CEO for 17 years in my company. And as you mentioned earlier, I did bootstrap it. So what does that mean? Some people don't even know. That means you're starting it with absolutely no money, which is hard to do, right?
Absolutely. So I think that's why people are going to be so interested in how you went about doing that.
Right. So what I did while I had my little part-time job, I had a part-time job, I utilized only that money to start my business. And when I'm doing now is the same thing. So I work at my other business and only utilize that money to bootstrap into my new businesses, just so I can show all of you that it can be done. And actually, as I said, I'm doing two right now. So how did I do that? Well, what I started was a document signing service. Have you ever heard of that, Virginia?
Yes, I have, but I'm awestruck in that you could do that and build it up to 2.3 million. Tell us a little about that.
Okay. Well, I started doing it myself. I believe that we always have to do whatever we're going to do ourselves first, providing as far as the business itself. And so I became a document signer. And I had a mentor in LA. I was living up in San Jose at the time. And I had a mentor in LA I went down and spoke with. And let me tell you, a mentor is very, very important so you can see the picture of how to get there. And you may not like their picture quite so well, but you can always make it your own. So what I did was I went down and I looked at his big program. I was just me. I was only out doing document signings myself. And I did that for the first year, and what happened to me was I went from I thought if I could just do one signing a day, I'd have 7 a week, and I'd make as much as I made at my part-time job. And my goal, and the goal that I would suggest to anybody else, is that they always stay with their job or whatever it is that they're doing until the amount of money from the new company supersedes what they're making right now. That's the #1 rule for bootstrapping.
That's a great tip in and of itself.
Yes, and if
you're not tapping into your savings, correct?
Yes, don't touch your savings in any circumstance, because what if you know, we never can go a straight path. We're always learning different ways to go. So what if you get off track and then you burn up all your savings, which I've talked to many women that have done this, and then you have nothing to live on? Well, cash flow is the most important. If you don't, it's the #1 for financial security, is to make sure that you always have cash flow. So what I did is I started it myself, and I went out and learned to do it myself. And I went from 1 a day to 10 a day, 10 signings a day. And I was doing so many that I would actually sit in the escrow offices and sign at their desks because I had no time to travel. And once I did too much of that, I ended up in the hospital from overwork, which is what I see from so many, specifically women. And I had to take 2 weeks off. So while I was sitting there in the hospital, I thought, how am I going to do this? If I have to take 2 weeks off, we're coming to the point of end of month where all this needs to be signed. How am I going to do this? So what I did is I called different people that I knew that were already notaries and asked them to take over different territories, which they did, which started my business off and running.
So what you basically did was reach your own maximum and realize, wait a minute, I've hit the wall for what I can do individually. It's time to start leveraging myself. I've already got the system worked out for one. Now it's a matter of turning it into for many, and you taking advantage of that as far as growing your whole business.
Right. That's exactly right. I couldn't have said it better myself.
But sometimes it takes that slap across the face, or sometimes as strong as, you know, feeling like you just hit your head against a brick wall, in this case putting you in the hospital, say, wait a minute, it's time for a shift up in my business.
Yes. And that's what I'm trying to teach people, is to look at the big picture. Get out of the business. What we do is we spend all our time working in the business instead of on the business. And
I've heard that before.
Yes. So what I did was, over time, I just took my immediate area that I needed help in. And then once that was settled in, then I grew to Northern California and I started hiring people for that territory. Then I went to Southern California and started hiring people for that territory. And you can grow slowly and make it very smooth and only use the money that you have coming in. And when you do that, particularly with this business, I needed to have an office. I needed to have 15 employees inside to answer the calls from all over the nation. And I had 23,000 people that eventually I trained myself to go out and sign, and wrote a book, a 220-page book on how to do that and how to work with people.
Phenomenal. That I love hearing that. So growing from yourself, making the signatures until you couldn't handle it yourself, growing into a 23,000 employee company, and you were doing the training. So you took your expertise and moved it into training to leverage yourself and leverage your business, and look what happened. That is phenomenal.
And I do want to clarify, I didn't have 23,000 employees. I had 15 employees and 23,000 independent contractors, because 23,000 employees would be extremely costly because of all the additional fees that a business has to pay in order to keep employees. Employees don't understand that it's not just the pay that they receive, it's also half of the Social Security, it's also the disability portion. There's so much more that a company has to pay in order to keep an employee that the employee doesn't think about.
Oh, I appreciate that. Let's take a break for a moment. I want to just recognize some of our wonderful brother and sister entrepreneurs that are here. Todd Smith, thanks for joining us. Robin Holland, Julianne Blake, Margaret McGraw, Lori Fredericks, Jean Johnson, just to name a few. Thank you so much for being here with us. Make sure you feel free to put comments in the comment section, or let us know where you're hanging out from, and any questions that you have at this point for Shirlene. I'd love to have you put those in the comment section. So let's just talk for a moment about our hot topics and strategies. You've heard a lot about how she started to bootstrap her first business and how successful that was. Obviously, she worked hard at it, even to the point of, putting her in a hospital to make her regroup and expand her business and leverage herself. She's going to give us a little bit of information on sales and business growth strategies. You've already heard part of that. She's going to provide us with money is energy and how you can maximize yours. And then something about top-down business nest egg tips. So let's get on to some of these topics. Shirlene, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say, one of the very, very valuable things I learned being in that business for 17 years is in October 2010, I thought I had made it past the 2007-2008 debacle, and I was breathing a big sigh of relief and understand that the banks and the escrow companies, lenders, and realtors were my clients. And when I say banks, I'm talking about Wells Fargo, Citibank, Bank of America. The big heavy hitters were my clients. And they were doing a lot of refinances, and they were doing a lot of purchases, and that's really how I got my start. You remember the refinance mania many times that we went through that. And my business grew exponentially. But then in October 2010, I had a California C corporation, and I had to lay off all of my employees because my order count went from 90 a day to 6, just like that, overnight. And as I mentioned before, I was feeding 23,000 families. And I told everybody, I said, we got to close the doors. I can't run the business on 6 orders a day. We can't stay open. And I learned something long before that was very valuable, because in the financial industry, it tends to ebb and flow. And it's very cyclical also. So I learned that whatever I had in debt, I needed to keep in savings. That was really important. And in the meantime,
by the way, let's pause with that. Mm-hmm. That's an important tip I want people to take home with them today, that you kept in savings whatever you had in debt.
Right. That's exactly what I did. Because at one point, the market hit a real low, and I had all these 23,000 people I had to pay, and not enough money in the account to take care of that. And there'd been so many other signing companies that went out of business, and title companies also, that I would be left pretty much holding the bag with the title companies. So I made sure to keep that same amount of money. So when I had to close the doors, I had the money that could flow into paying everybody off that I owed debt to, and I was fortunately able to negotiate office leases and things like that and pay them off as well. And I realized as I was standing in the unemployment line with everybody else that I never wanted to be there again. And I also realized that I loved making money while I slept, because before that I was living over in Maui, and I'd have signings over in New York. So 6 hours before I got up, I was making money. So I'd look in the account and there it would be, and I didn't have to do anything. So I really loved that. That was sort of the override that I received. I loved making the income that I was making from the company itself, but I was missing an important ingredient called residual. And if I'd had residual, I'd be in Tahiti right now doing this with you.
So that's why you're now bootstrapping 2 more businesses.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the one is being Maximizing Your Wealth, and the other, of course, is your show, your up-and-coming wealth TV show.
Yes. So, yes, so I'm excited about both of those. I'm out speaking a lot now about residual and the fact that I didn't earn any residual. So that's what I'm doing now. The book brings in residual. Or will soon. Right now, it's free on my website at maximizeyourwealthnow.com, but very shortly it will cost, because they're going to put it up on Amazon. So if you want to take a look at it, go get it for free as soon as you can. And I think maybe in a month it'll be on Amazon. And it teaches you in there the 5 steps to financial freedom. And they're very simple tips, and I kind of wrapped it around my trip to the wave in Arizona, because I loved that hike. It was wonderful. It had beautiful pictures, so I shared that with everybody too.
Terrific. So, again, the name of the book that they can pick up at your site is the same as your site?
Maximize Your Wealth Now, yes.
Okay, so you'll be able to get the 5 tips that she's talking about, or
I have it right here.
Talking about. There it is. Maximize your wealth. That is terrific. Well, now I know you had said something about money is energy, how to maximize yours, and you had an exercise for our guests that they might be able to apply very simply and easily.
They can do it with me right now.
Okay.
What I want them to do is just put their hands in a fist and hold it very, very close to your chest, as tight as you possibly can. Now, Virginia, how does that feel?
Rather constricted, but there's another thing about hugging that feels very secure.
But this isn't hugging, is it?
Yeah.
This would be hugging.
This is hugging. This feels a little restricted somehow.
Exactly. So the point the money is only energy. So if you're holding it tight to your breast, which a lot of people do nowadays because they're scared to death. They don't know what to do with their money. Can it flow?
Of course not.
No. So
we're holding on too tight.
Yeah, just relax now and put your hands out, because when your hands are out and open, they're ready to receive as well as give. And that's what energy does. It actually flows through you and back around. And that's all money is. It's nothing but energy. And you can create more of it or restrict it and receive less. It's your choice. But when we live in a place of lack instead of abundance, that is when we become restrictive and have to really notice what we're doing, because we're in a place of fear.
So what you're suggesting, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that check in with your body, especially when you're on the topic of money. Maybe it's even when you're paying bills, or perhaps it's when you're deciding whether or not you want to invest in something for your business. And see if you're feeling restricted. Check this feeling out versus the hands out feeling, and notice where you're at. And if you're in that restricted place, take a moment to open up, take a few deep breaths, and feel the energy start to flow again.
Right, and don't forget to breathe.
Yes, of course.
When people are having to do something with money, they can't breathe, especially when it has a comma in it. That's the scariest time.
Yes.
And I've been there. We all experience it because we're just human. And we have to think about how to budget. But when you are bootstrapping your business, you'll know when you can afford that next step. You'll make that decision ahead of time. And one of the things that we really need to do is map out the steps that we need to take. Like I was saying earlier, it's like you think of the business itself in the top-down position as an umbrella. And then you take the pieces of the umbrella and you break down what it's going to take to get you where you want to go. So you have to have a big team of people around you that you can call on to actually do a little bit here and there. And they always know there's more coming, but you actually develop a working relationship, so when you call on them, they're right there for you right away.
So your teams that you use, you have a couple of different teams, I think you said, and you use those for your top-down business strategy. And how does that apply to the nest egg that you would build?
Well, I'll use a perfect example. You know, I mentioned that I had a corporation. I had a California C corporation with my last business because I had 15 people inside, and I needed to be protected from liability. We're talking about people's biggest amount of money that they ever have when we're looking at them refinancing a house or actually selling or buying a house. And I had to have a huge amount of insurance. I had $1 million worth of insurance on all of my 23,000 people. And believe me, that was expensive. And so here's an example. On this business, I don't have all those people. They're all done through the companies that I work with, and they all have E&O, errors and omissions insurance. So this time, I don't have any liability. So I called my accountant and said, you know, what do I do? Should I do an S Corp? Should I do a C Corp? And he said, no, don't do anything. You have no liability. And my goal with these two businesses is to give half the income away to countries that have problems with water, problems with housing, orphanages, anything that those countries need help with. 50% of my income on these next two businesses are going to go toward that. And if you have a corporation, you can only give 25%. So he said, don't do that. And you could live anywhere in the world and pay taxes only on what it is in that country or what it is on that state, which gave me a lot more freedom than I realized I would have.
Fascinating. So you are a social entrepreneur. That's what I call that, and a difference maker, which is really exciting because not only you're taking the skills that you've had and developed over the last several years and applying them to bootstrapping 2 more businesses, but you're in your vision and in your mission statement, you're going to be giving half of that away. I love it. Thank you for sharing that, Shirlene.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, let's talk for a moment about Wealth Maximizer TV and what your plans are for that.
Oh, I am so excited about that. That business is going to correlate with my other business. And we are due to pilot launch either in February or March, and it's going to start in 250 airports, so we'll have about 200,000 in captive viewership. And what we're going to do is put programs together for business people in 3-minute sound bites so that they can pick up information and run with it. And some of what I'm imparting with you today is going to be part of that, and I'm going to bring in guest experts who can help with social networking, who can talk about accounting, who can talk about different ways to set up your business, different entities, so that you can ask the right questions like I just did with my accountant. It's going to be all of that. What about branding? What do I need with the photographer to make sure that the lighting is right? What do I need to move to the next level of my business? How do I look at my business from the top down so that I can figure out the things that I really don't need to be doing that somebody else could do instead, because my time is so much better and so much more well spent when I'm actually orchestrating from the top rather than being in the business itself.
Well, that's brilliant, and I think we all need to learn more about how to do that and start practicing some of your tips in this area, because I know I myself, I wear way too many hats. That's part of the learning curve, just like you did in the beginning, but definitely it's time to start passing some of those hats out. I can only really wear one the most efficiently and do the best for my business. So I appreciate that. We only have a few minutes left, which just boggles my mind that time goes by so fast. But we'll have to have you back when you get your show up and running, because I know people would like to learn more about how you're getting into the airports and other places that you've mentioned. You said you had a few action steps that you might be able to provide our audience with that they can go ahead and use, right away in their own businesses. Would you like to share that for a moment?
I actually have 3. One is to really look, we're really great at making money as entrepreneurs, but we don't know where to put it. We don't know how to grow it. We don't know how to keep it safe. And yes, there are things out there that they tell us to do, but there's so many others that are so much better, that protect us. And then we don't have to keep making the same money over and over and over again. And also, there's a lot of things out there with tax benefit, so that you don't have to pay so much in taxes at the end of the year. So I suggest that you look into what those things are, and of course you can always contact me. I'm happy to share that with you, or maybe we'll do that in the after show. But there's some really new, exciting hybrids out there that are made for the people, so much more than our industry itself, because I don't believe our industry's done a great job for people. I think it's confused us, it's scared a lot of people, and they've lost a lot of money in the markets. So one thing I would suggest to you is that you get set up in the beginning on moving forward in order to save on taxes and save and grow your money in a safe place. The second thing is to make sure that you have separate credit cards and separate bank accounts for your business. Do not, please, do not blend those two together, because what will happen is if you get audited, and we all hope we never do, but some of us do, and you have been putting your money into your personal checking account, or you've been using the same credit card for both the business and your personal things, the IRS is going to go right from your business into your personal. So in order to get them to stop at business, make sure that you have separate accounts for both your credit cards and your bank statements. And the third thing I would suggest is that you keep an envelope in the visor of your car. That's what I do. Anytime you look at the visor of my car, you'll see an envelope there. And what I do is I put all my receipts for business into that envelope for that month. And at the end of the month, I write the month and the year on it so that I have each envelope there together. Or what I do is I give it to my assistant, and then she gives me a balance sheet every month, which I also suggest is that you have a balance sheet so you know how much you're spending, and make sure that you are not getting into your savings no matter what.
There you go. Those are the key steps for bootstrapping your business, and obviously keeping track of your expenses is very important. I love that. That's so simple. Just an envelope. I've done that myself. Matter of fact, years ago in my early business, I kept all my receipts in envelopes and separated into categories, and I was one year audited, and when I walked in with my accountant and handed all of that to him in such an orderly way, he said, "We're done," because he knew I could prove every receipt I had.
That's the tiger.
That's my totem, the tiger. Well, Charlene, I want to thank you so much for being with us here today. I'm looking forward to having you back on the show next year after you get your new show going. I'd like to invite all of you to join us in the after show. If you have any direct questions for Charlene, that would be terrific. I'm going to post it now. I'm sharing that link. And so feel free to come on in. We're going to end the broadcast here shortly, but I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. And I'm going to take a week off. I'm having a little vacation with my hubby. We're going for our anniversary next week. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. Looking forward to sharing with you my guest at that time, who is an inspiration in the health industry. You'll want to hear what she has to say about balancing your health and your business, none other than Crystal Kazan. So until then, Shirlene, do you have one final thought for our guest you'd like to share?
Well, my final thought is keep up the good work, Virginia. Thank you so much for having me on. And I love the quality of your show. You're just doing an awesome job. And I look forward to hearing from those of you who have been watching so that we can help strategize your business from the top down and get you moving forward out of the frustration and into the lifestyle of your dreams.
Wonderful. And I'll just add to that, go out and bootstrap your business and help a lot of other people along the way.
Right.
It's been great having you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I really appreciate it. Again, come join us in the after show or leave your questions and comments in the comment section. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye now.
Bye.